Welcome. You've joined us today because ProTax Accountant, a well-known firm here in the UK, arranged for us to explore a really important topic, especially if you're navigating the UK visa system, the Accountant Certificate of Confirmation.
Exactly. Yeah, think of the accountant's certificate of confirmation as, well, like an official stamp of approval. It's from a
Yep.
certified accountant.
Okay.
And it basically tells the Home Office that your financial records, whether that's for your business or just you personally, are accurate,
Right?
that your taxes are up to date, and that everything kind of aligns with HMRC and companies' house records. It's a really key document for certain UK visa applications.
Yeah.
Getting it right it can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And I guess if you're, say, self-employed or maybe a director of a smaller limited company,
Right.
this certificate could be that crucial piece of evidence, couldn't it?
Definitely.
To show your financial stability to the Home Office when you're applying for certain visas, like the spouse visa or indefinite leave to remain.
Precisely. Those are key examples.
And without it, you could, well, unfortunately be looking at a refusal, right?
That's the risk, yes. Now, it's important for people to know that not everyone applying for a UK visa needs this certificate.
Okay.
For instance, if you're in Category A, that usually means salaried employment for more than 6 months,
Right.
or if your income is only from a pension, which is Category D, you probably won't need one.
But here's where it gets really important for some people listening.
Mm-hmm.
If you are self-employed and you're submitting your SA 302 or SA 300 tax info,
Yes.
or maybe you're a director of a specific kind of limited company, where you or your spouse own shares and there are fewer than 5 other shareholders.
That's a specific structure, yes.
And you're using unaudited accounts for visas like the spouse visa or FLRM, further leave to remain,
Or ILR.
or ILR, indefinite leave to remain,
Yeah.
then you will almost certainly need this certificate. For anyone wondering, FLRM is for extending your stay as a partner, and ILR is, well, permanent residence.
And a really crucial point here is the accountant's qualification. They absolutely must be registered with a UK-recognized supervisory body. That's defined by the Companies Act 2006. So think bodies like the ICA, EW, ACCA, AAT. They're some of the main ones.
Right.
There are others too, of course. Your accountant should know if they're registered. We actually saw a case just this year, 2024.
Really?
Yeah, a spouse visa application was rejected simply because the accountant wasn't registered with the ACCA.
Yeah.
Which, meant significant extra costs for the applicant reapplication fees, plus big delays.
So, okay, let's say someone listening used an accountant who, well, isn't qualified with one of these recognized bodies.
Right.
What kind of trouble could that actually lead to?
Well, the most serious outcome is just outright refusal of the visa application.
Right.
Sometimes the Home Office might give you a short window, maybe say 7 to 14 days to get a certificate from a compliant accountant.
Okay, the chance to fix it.
A small chance, maybe. And while there's a very slim possibility an application might squeak through even with a non-qualified accountant, it's a huge risk.
Not worth it.
Not at all. It's always, always best to be absolutely sure your accountant is properly registered right from the start.
Okay, so this certificate is clearly vital.
Mm-hmm.
But what exactly does it tell the Home Office? What are they actually looking for in this document?
Fundamentally, it assures the Home Office that your financial affairs are being professionally managed.
Right.
It confirms that your taxes have been paid, according to HMRC rules, or maybe that there's a compliant payment plan in place if needed.
Okay.
And it also verifies that your records, the ones held by both HMRC and Companies House, are current and accurate.
That makes total sense, especially when you think about how closely the Home Office looks at financial evidence.
Absolutely.
I mean, that financial requirement for a spouse visa, it went up again in April 2024, didn't it?
Yeah.
To £29,000 annual income now, according to gov.uk.
That's right, 29,000 pounds. So they need really robust proof that applicants actually meet these thresholds.
Exactly.
So for those who are self-employed, the accountant's certificate, well, it essentially validates the net profit figure, the one you've declared on your SA 302 tax return.
Okay, confirms that profit.
Precisely. And for company directors, it confirms the salary and any dividends they've drawn, as shown on the CT 600 company tax return.
Got it.
Accuracy here is just paramount. Any mistakes, like underreporting income, well, that can not only lead to your visa being denied.
But HMRC trouble, too.
Exactly. It could trigger an investigation by HMRC. And, they collect a lot of tax revenue, so they take compliance very, very seriously.
Right. Okay. Now let's look at the flip side for a moment. Are there situations where a self-employed person or a company director wouldn't need this accountant's certificate?
Yes, there are a few specific exceptions, mainly for the self-employed. You generally won't need one if your business is legally required to produce independently audited annual accounts. That's quite rare for smaller businesses, though.
Right. Audited accounts. What else?
Another exception is if you can provide a VAT registration certificate and your VAT return for the last full financial year. This usually applies if your business turnover went over the threshold, what is it, 85,000 pounds or whatever the relevant threshold was at the time.
Okay. Any others?
Yes. Providing evidence of necessary planning permission to operate your business from your trading address, if that's something your local authority requires.
Right, planning permission.
Or if you operate under a formal franchise agreement signed by both parties, that can sometimes work instead.
Interesting. And what about those smaller limited companies we mentioned, the ones where the certificate is usually needed? Are there any times they might be exempt?
Well, generally for those specific smaller limited companies, the ones where you or your spouse own a big chunk of the shares,
Yeah.
an accountant's certificate is almost always required when you're using unaudited accounts for the visa.
Okay, so pretty much always needed then.
Pretty much, because these types of companies very rarely meet the criteria that force them to have a statutory audit.
What are those criteria, roughly?
The thresholds are quite high. You typically need to meet at least 2 out of 3 conditions for 2 years running. Things like annual turnover over 10.2 million.
Wow.
Or total assets worth more than 5.1 million, or having more than 50 employees on average.
Right, so most smaller owner-managed businesses won't hit that.
Exactly. So for the vast majority of these smaller owner-managed limited companies applying for visas using unaudited accounts, that accountant certificate is going to be necessary.
So it really sounds like for many self-employed people and directors of these specific companies, getting that accountant certificate of confirmation from a properly qualified accountant is a non-negotiable step for the UK visa application.
Absolutely. It really is. It's all about ensuring you have the right financial verification in place to meet those strict home office requirements and, crucially, to avoid potential problems, refusals, or just long delays.
Makes sense. So to wrap up then, if you are putting together your UK visa application and think you might need an accountant's certificate of confirmation, or maybe you just want to be sure your financial ducks are properly in a row.
Good idea, anyway.
Definitely. We highly recommend getting in touch with the experts at ProTax Accountant. They kindly arranged this discussion for us today and are really well placed to guide you through this whole process.
They certainly know their stuff in this area. Good call.